When we're looking at digestive systems of different animals, you'll notice a lot of similarities, but also differences between species. For example, if we look at just individual organs, here in red, I'm highlighting stomach in the top row of organisms. So we have a lion, an elephant, and a Grevy's zebra. So a lion obviously is a carnivore because it eats elephants and zebras. Zebras more commonly than elephants. Elephants, they would typically eat after the elephant has died. They would then scavenge, but only when necessary. So they all have a stomach. And then the next thing that they all have are their intestines. So the first intestine that comes is the small intestine. Even though it's very, very long, it's called the small intestine just because of the diameter. So we're going to circle that small intestine on all of those species. Next is where we have some differences between these organisms. So if we go to a different color, we'll do yellow. On the lion, next it's going to go into the large intestine, which is named as such because the diameter of that organ is larger. This is where a lot of absorption happens of water. So for instance, an example, I'm sure you all have experienced diarrhea before. That is when your large intestine does not reabsorb enough water, so that water comes out in your fecal matter. When your large intestine is operating properly, it will reabsorb all that water and make a firmer stool. So as we can see, the lion has that large intestine. However, if we look at the elephant, it also has a large intestine right here, but at the top, there's like a little extra space. And we can see it more clearly in the zebra as well. So I'm going to circle that large intestine, but we have a little extra organ. So I'll switch colors to green. And we can see on the elephant and the zebra, there's that little extra piece. That is called the cecum. The purpose of the cecum is to digest further the different things that lions and zebras eat apart from carnivores. So carnivores are typically going to eat bone, organ, meat, hair, all of the different things that are in a whole animal. Those things can be very, very easily digested. However, elephants and zebras, they're going to eat grasses, twigs, bark, different plant materials. So if we think about plant materials, they're really, really tough and rigid. They're made of a substance called cellulose that is very, very difficult to break down. So these organisms have this organ called a cecum that acts as a little extra piece to help break down that tough fibrous material. If we go on the bottom here, we can also see the black rhinoceros has that little extra extension. Next to it, we can see a baboon has an extension, but it's a little smaller. So we can guess that a baboon is probably an omnivore. It eats both meat and also some fibrous materials. Then next, if we look at a hedgehog, it's got nothing. It's just one tube. So we can guess that we typically think of a hedgehog as being an herbivore, but really it's an insectivore. It eats other animals. So technically, a hedgehog is a carnivore. If we scroll down even further, we can look at humans. And humans actually have a little tiny bit of a cecum, but more importantly, we also have another little, I'm going to call it a dangly piece. That's called the appendix. And I'm sure you guys have heard of an appendix before. And it's actually a little extra part off that cecum that scientists believe was actually used to help humans to digest twigs and like hard fibrous material that our ancestors or very ancient relatives actually had to consume. So I hope this helps you guys to understand the differences between these different things. And if we look at the internal structure of an organism, we can actually tell by the intestines if it's an herbivore, carnivore, or an omnivore, which I think is pretty cool.